Maybe I just have a not like other girls complex, but every time I see one of these trend videos pop up, I love watching them, but it kind of makes me turned off to the trends when I see them over and over and over again, which, I mean, they are trends. You are likely to see them over and over and over again. But I think for me, it's just more of like a sense of self. Like if I am wearing the same Lululemon bag or the same style skirt that everyone else is wearing, it just feels boring to me. Even if it's something really cute that I was really excited about at first, it just starts to feel boring. So today I wanted to make my own summer trends video. This is sort of based on what I've been seeing on Pinterest. So it is a little bit like what's actually trending, but then also just things that are trending for me personally, my takes on them and how I'm adopting them into my own style to make them feel like myself. And hopefully this inspires you to do the same. If you're seeing the same things over and over again and you're getting a little bit fatigued, maybe this will help encourage you to kind of refresh your mind and think of ways that you could make it your own as well. I've really tried to curate this list down to things that I think are a little bit more niche and a little bit less talked about. It's not necessarily going to be the things that are trending on Vogue's list or any of those other like major fashion blogs. So if you haven't seen these before, it'll just be kind of fresh inspiration too. Most of these are going to be actually wearable or practical for summertime. Again, I've tried to curate this list to cater to what my personal interests are, but also what I think is practical for myself and for other people that live similarly to me. I'm a mom with 2 toddlers. I work full time. My fashion is very catered to that lifestyle. And I still like to have fun and be a little whimsical within all of that, but it has to be practical. So let's get into it. Where do we want to start? This is one that's really rocked my world. Something that I used to do all the time when I was like in middle school, and the fact that it's coming back is so refreshing to me. It's such a refreshing take on the trend, wearing scarves as belts. We're definitely seeing it with a more triangular shape, and it has more of an asymmetrical drape on the body, which I think is so beautiful. I think the ideal here would be to do this with a really lovely silk scarf, and you want it to be like a square shape so that it can make that triangular shape down the body. But I think it'd also be so pretty with like a lightweight cotton or some of those crochet fabrics that we're seeing a lot of this summer. I feel like this one is definitely on trending list somewhere. The reason why I picked this one is because I feel like it is such an easily customizable trend and such a wearable trend too. If you're not loving the waistline of a pair of pants, or maybe even the pair of pants isn't fitting quite right, it's such a nice way to cover that up. I've seen the scarf trend done other ways too, like styling it over dresses, tied around the bust. I just think getting a silk scarf is one of the best investments you can make. They're so thriftable. You could also make these kind of scarves by knitting one. That would be a really easy entry knitting project or crocheting project. So that's a good one. Okay, next up, I tried not to make too many of these inspired by like a specific brand or what a specific brand is doing. You guys know my obsession about Chloe right now. I feel like that's a pretty universal obsession at this point. But another brand that I really have had my eye on for like the last month, I would say, is tylermcgillivary. Is that what it's called? Hold on. I always say it wrong. tylermcgillivary. Yeah, tylermcgillivary. So they just have these nature-inspired realism prints to all of their pieces. I specifically love their pieces that have the bug and butterfly elements to it. What would you call that? Insects? It's not botanical, but insectual. Anyway, I really love that. I think part of it too is just like, again, the phase of life I'm in right now. I have 2 toddler boys and they're very into bugs. We just had a bug birthday party for my 3-year-old. I have so much more of an appreciation for that kind of thing than I used to. And I also don't just dress for myself. I dress for my kids and the things that they like. So that kind of thing just tickles me, I guess, when I can find something that I know that they're gonna see and think is cool. I know that they've done collabs with ellamae. I think there's like a seashell one that I love. Of course, it's so artful. The realism in it is what gets me and what I geek out about. They're the only ones that I'm seeing do it right. And what I do fear is that if it does become a little bit more of a popular trend, that seeing it in the Urban Outfitters version or the Shein version is just gonna make me kind of averse to it, but it is something I'm considering. Also, their ads, those are Instagram ads that I welcome on my story feeds. They're so pleasant to look at, you know what I mean? Okay, speaking of ellamae, another trend I'm loving, and I feel like this is definitely more prevalent. Last year, we started seeing the basque waist become a lot more popular in dresses, and I know specifically right now in bridal, it's really popular. I think that's such a beautiful cut. I still love it. I love a drop waist in general, and specifically this season, I've seen a lot of skirts that are either a drop waist or a basque waist skirt. I would love the ellamae drop waist skirt. It has little ties on the side, and I actually found on Etsy a pattern that's very similar. So I'm thinking about making that. If I can ever just get myself to get over this mental block that is me trying to sew. My sewing machine is out. It's right there. I've had it on my kitchen table. I haven't even put it away. And I even have patterns printed. Anyway, there's something about the silhouette of it that just feels so fresh. It has a little bit of form-fittedness around the hips, which I think is really flattering. Maybe not flattering is not the word, but just like you can see your shape in it. Like you're not getting lost in a big full skirt, which not that there's anything wrong with that, but I think for me, it just sort of appeals to an interest I have in wearing clothing that is really comfortable and like oversized and flowy, but also still retaining my own shape in that. Something I'm seeing a lot, and I guess this could fall into another trend, is doing like a ribbed white tank, just like a plain Hanes tank with that skirt to really dress it down, or you could dress it up. I have a couple really pretty vintage blouses that I've been wanting to wear, and I don't love wearing them with jeans. Definitely very functional and comfortable too. What else? Okay, getting away from clothes for a second and talking more about accessories. In general, we've seen a shift toward more statement jewelry, but specifically more whimsical, not necessarily chunky necklaces that we saw in like the 2010s, or even the charm necklaces we saw a whole bunch last year. There's a big emphasis on pendants right now. I would love to get, I've seen so much on Pinterest, a big metal star and sort of like a hammered, like imperfect version of that, very organic feeling. I just love the look of that. I've also seen earrings in that style, I think, floating around on Etsy, and I've been so tempted by it. So this one's pretty open-ended because I think you could take this whichever way you want. For me, I thrifted a whole bunch of these like bauble necklaces. And then this is actually an earring that I'm using as a pendant, which I think is such an underrated hack. Like if you have a lot of big earrings, which I do because that's specifically all that I wore like for the last 10 years. I was such a big earring person until I had babies, and like I had to stop wearing them because they would pull on them. And then I've just gotten out of the habit. But I have so many of these, and I love how whimsical this looks. Like it's not even that crazy, but it feels like me. Like these are things that I've had or thrifted because I loved them, and it just looks right. So I like this too because I can take this off and still wear it as an earring again. But yeah, just definitely a shift away from the really dainty, like gold stacked necklaces that I feel like everyone was wearing 5 years ago. And you can also get those like big mystery jewelry jars or whatever at the thrift store. That would be such a good way to do this. There's probably tons of big earrings in there, maybe even potentially pendants that you can work with. You could use leather, suede cording. Cording in general, I think is fun, like getting different colors of cording. And I think for summer especially, once it gets really hot, it can be so tempting to just lean into not wanting to wear anything. Like your outfits get more boring because you're just trying to be functional about your dressing. Having some kind of like fun, whimsical jewelry is a really good way to just throw that on. Although I do understand that sometimes even jewelry can feel a little bit overwhelming when you're hot, but still. Okay, this one I've kind of talked about before in a couple previous videos, but I've been really inspired by Erin Brockovich, her style lately. I watched the movie On a Plane recently, and it just kind of reawakened something in me. A lot of revealing tops with her bra showing, even with the 2010s too, and like the whole lace bralette thing, like having your lace bralette poke out. I feel like this comes back into fashion every once in a while, and I really like it. And I think maybe a more approachable way to do this for summer is to have your swimsuit, have like a cute swimsuit top that you layer underneath. That way it's actually functional. Like you might actually be going somewhere where you're gonna be wearing your swimsuit. Kind of gets across the same message, the same outfit, inspiration, right? And I think it could be even more fun because bathing suits typically have more fun patterns and everything. It can just be like a fun way to get a little bit more creative about layering. Again, for the summer months when you're not actually wanting to put on more clothes. It's kind of almost second nature, but I think how I'm going to make it a little bit more intentional is by thrifting things specifically that might look good with a halter showing underneath it or with like exposed straps. So maybe things that are actually intentionally lower cut or a little bit more revealing than I typically would have geared myself toward, specifically to show a lacy bra underneath or a swimsuit underneath. And I'm also gonna be looking more at the swimsuits than I usually do when I go back to thrifting. By the way, it's June now. I made it through my no-buy. My next video is going to be a thrift with me, so thank you all for being patient. When I do go thrifting, I want to look at the swimsuit tops. It's not something I really go for because I do prefer to buy new swimsuits, not for any reason other than just like understanding my fit correctly, finding pieces that match. But if you're just looking for a top, it kind of makes things a little bit easier. I'm excited to be doing that. I could have done it today. Like I should have worn like a colorful bra or something underneath this today, but I didn't. So whatever. Okay, this one is actually the only makeup related one that I have. Nomascara. I think they call this like California eyes or something like that on TikTok. I don't know. This is actually something that I do every summer. A lot of times throughout the year too. I hate having to take my mascara off at the end of the night. And also just in the summertime, like when you're sweating, you're near water, the humidity is high, like what is the point of wearing mascara anyway? Personally, I really like the way I look better without mascara. And my mom's always like, oh, it's like a youthful thing. Like only young people could do that. And I don't think that's true. I actually think it's because I have more mature eyes now that I don't like wearing mascara because I liked it better on myself when I was younger. Again, in my own personal opinion, when I see more mature people not wearing mascara or having really minimal makeup, I think it is so beautiful, so fresh. Like it's timeless. I mean, it's literally how we were intended to be. So I guess, yeah, it's timeless. So that's something I'm going to be participating in this summer. I did mention in my last video, I kind of want to try doing a pastel mascara when I'm going to be wearing mascara. Like if I were going out or something, I think it'd be so fun to try a white or like a light pink mascara. I just think it would be kind of fun. I think it was Cup of Jordy talking about it, but I have seen it pop up on my Pinterest as well. Feathers and feathers as embellishments. This is definitely like a trendy thing. Again, something that I can totally see any fast fashion brand recreating to ad nauseum. So I am hesitant about this one, but I think done correctly or even done again, like in a DIY capacity, could be so beautiful. Specifically, I think feathers as straps on a top would be so beautiful. Could you take a boa, maybe not like a big fluffy boa, but like something similar to a boa and use it as straps on a top? I don't know. Like I think it would be something so fun, so fun to play with and like so whimsical, very angelic. We've seen it in hair too, re-emerging as a hair trend, which I definitely had the feathers in my hair in 2010. I loved them. I would do it again. But again, I think the type of feathers I'm picturing now are just like a little bit more ethereal, a little bit more angelic. So we'll see how that ends up manifesting. This one's going back to accessories, ankle embellishments, and specifically a scrunchie around the ankle. It looks very clownish in the cutest way. Such a fun way to accessorize. You know, is this one practical? Probably not, but it's also not something that's so terribly uncomfortable that you can't walk in it. If you have those scrunchies that are so popular right now, the good squish ones or knockoffs of those, or you've made your own scrunchies, I think it could be something so fun to play around with. Or if you don't want to go to that extreme, even just doing an ankle bracelet out of something a little bit less dainty than we've typically seen, and just accentuating the ankles. I always love an espadrille and like having a tie or like having some sort of interest there. I don't know. I think this one, you definitely would need to do it right. You would need to like have some zhuzhing to it, and maybe even make something specifically, because I don't know how a traditional scrunchie that you just buy from Target is gonna look, but it might be worth trying. I don't know. I feel like this trend has sort of seeped in everywhere. Buttons as embellishments on everything. I think we've seen this sort of shift to having pins on things and brooches and like really cluttering up your pieces with all of these different little personality pieces, which I think is so cool. And again, if it's authentic to you and it's like, it feels natural to you, I love that. And I think it's kind of obvious when it is, and then when it's not, you know what I'm saying? So it hasn't been what I've leaned toward trend-wise. I'm not a big collector of that kind of thing. And so for me, it just feels too daunting to collect a bunch of pins. But this button trend is really fascinating to me, because maybe it's just what's targeting me on Pinterest, but it's always the abalone seashell style button necklaces, button purses, button tops, button straps. And it's such a pretty look. Like, I think it's such a beautiful way to add some shine, add a little bit more interest. Has that same sort of like DIY, crafty, kind of junky appeal that the pins and the brooches do, but it's just like maybe a little bit more, I don't even want to say elevated, because it's not really like that the other ones look cheap or anything. It's just more of a subdued way of doing it, I think. While you're watching TV at night, you could just be sewing some buttons onto the straps of a tank top. And then I love those kind of DIYs too, because it's like they're so easy to undo, so that if you do get sick of it, or if it's a trend that's become too prevalent, then you can snip those buttons right off and use them for something else, you know? Let me know what your favorite summer trends are. Next week, we're gonna get back into thrifting. I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.